Welcome to Eternal Elements Learning Podcast brought to you by Tiasa Online. These podcasts are a part of the audio certificate programs on Tiasa Online. You're free to take these podcasts on your desired portal also, should you only wish to learn on the go. Thank you so much for engaging on these podcasts, and you can connect with the author on LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook. Hi, this is Niket Karajagi. Welcome to Season 6. We now start talking about corporate governance. Where did this concept of corporate governance come from? Well, earlier the industry was transactional in nature, where manufacturers used to create a product and people used to exchange it for money. Over a particular period of time, the whole system now moved from transactional to becoming a socio-economic system. And the moment that happened, there were multiple stakeholders that came into the process. You had investors, you had debtors, you had customers, you had suppliers, you had employees, and you also had the planet and the environment that became a stakeholder in the process. Greed started driving organizations, and when greed started driving organizations, they could not handle ethical dilemmas. In fact, they showed tremendous variance from ethics. And the moment that started happening, you certainly had scams happening. And when the scams started happening, obviously we live in a world of cause and effect. Companies started moving into liquidation. They went bankrupt. When that happened, stock exchanges crashed, people lost their jobs, and the entire economy went into shambles. The government realized it, the stakeholders realized it. In fact, a lot of corporate bodies realized it, and even stock exchanges realized it. And with that, what happened is the concept of corporate governance came in. We live in a world of technology, and technology brings in transparency. With transparency, all information, all data becomes open. We live in a world of 21st century, which is absolutely authentic. It is so authentic that any wrongdoing will be exposed, if not today, tomorrow for sure. And therefore, that mandates that organizations practice a very strong sense of purpose and ethics. Business ethics is the applied aspect of morality and ethics that exists in the society. And therefore, corporate governance is all about people, profit, and planet, and balancing all the needs of the stakeholders. Business leaders move through ethical dilemmas every day. They have profits to achieve, they have top lines to go for, and they have accountability towards stakeholders. Any dilemma situation is an uncertain situation where there are multiple choices available, and those choices will create outcomes. Whether the outcomes are created ethically or unethically is a situation of dilemma, because both the choices are difficult to take. And if that is the situation, then what happens is majority of the people rely on the behaviors demonstrated by many unethical people around them in the system. And therefore, a lot of times, unethical behavior is justified within the organizations and the society because people at large are demonstrating it. But then corporate governance says that there must be a guiding principle, a guiding force which tells you whatever you're doing, is it ethically correct, morally correct, is it fair, is it just? And that's what corporate governance is all about. Corporate governance starts with a credo, which is a statement of values, and the code of ethics and the code of conduct. Now, credo is a value statement that an organization creates, and the stakeholders also participate in it. These are a set of values that an organization openly talks about and ensures that the culture of the organization, the fabric of the culture, is weaved around the values. An organization can have its own unique values, but one thing that's important in values is that the values should be able to deal with the ethical dilemmas. The values should be the guiding force whenever any officer of the organization confronts an ethical dilemma. Values is something that's extremely important to the organization. These are factors, these are elements of business which will define how the policies and procedures of the organization will evolve. And therefore, a mission statement, a vision statement, a value statement, and a quality policy are integral to the governance process. Once you have a value statement ready or the credo ready, then you move into the practiced behaviors which underlie these values. These behaviors are defined in code of ethics or code of conduct. Code of ethics and code of conduct is meant for people who may be weak-minded when it comes to ethical dilemmas. So these are a set of clear behaviors which are recorded in a document, which can be also and must be posted on a website, which becomes a guiding force for members within the organization to refer to and determine whether their actions are correct or not correct, moral or immoral, ethical or unethical, just or unjust, fair or unfair. It has to start from the board, and then ultimately it has to culminate into a document. Employees and members and various stakeholders need to be trained around this particular code of ethics and behaviors or conduct. This training has to be early, and there has to be an ethics committee which audits which particular member deviated or showed a variance from code of ethics, and therefore mandatory actions have to be initiated against the person who goes into that. It has also to be reported to all the stakeholders, and serious issues must be reported also in the annual statement. Therefore, corporate governance as a fundamental concept brings an accountability towards all stakeholders. In today's world, in the 21st century of transparency and technology, corporate governance is the key, because unless and until we are ethical, we are honest, and we are authentic, we are not going to make it, because any deviance from ethics is bound to create a problem for every organization, a catastrophe for every organization, and you run the risk of liquidation and bankruptcy. Remember, credibility once lost cannot be brought back, and that's why corporate governance is of prime importance in today's world. Thank you for joining me in Season 6 on corporate governance. We shall get into different facets of corporate governance as we move through this podcast in the Series 6. Thank you very much. This is Niket Karajagi from Atyasa Online at Eternal Elements, signing off, and I shall see you in the next podcast.